All right, so it's 5:30. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Lori, can you call the roll, please?
Chairman Myjack, Vice Chairwoman Thompson,
Here.
Member Burdette,
Here.
Member Tucker,
Here.
Member Delgado, Member Browning,
Here.
Alternate Member Young.
Okay, thank you. So we do have a quorum. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Hey, Bill. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so moving on. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? And if so, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
All right, is there a second? All right, does anybody have any changes or anything that they have? If not, the motion was made by Member Tucker, seconded by Member Heichel, and all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and the minutes are approved. Petitions and requests from the public present. Stan, would you like to talk?
Yes, I would. Thank you for turning this on. I'm going to call this one something y'all don't like to hear about, but pollution and dishonesty. So there's Agent Orange that we're not too responsible for, but there was a lot of dishonesty there after people were dying and so forth, and I've lost some friends, and I was a veteran, and it's very difficult to handle that. Tetraethyl lead, an additive to gasoline. Tetraethyl lead is known to be very harmful to our thinking and thought, and yet we've had it in our gasoline for years going back, I don't know, to the 20s or wherever. It was added, the tetraethyl lead for octane, control of the gases. So the thing is now, if you look into YouTube, you'll find that tetraethyl lead has been in the atmosphere, even to people in Nepal, in India, even on top of Mount Everest. People have tetraethyl in their blood. PFAS was so much. I'm from West Virginia, and apparently it was that was where it was first made a big deal of, although it was in the 40s. But PFAS, these forever chemicals, they're doing terrible things, and now it's in the environment. Where is it in the environment? Worldwide. It'd be interesting to see it on YouTube, but it's worldwide pollution. Everybody here has got PFAS, the forever chemicals in their blood, big time. Fact is this, just watch YouTube, a farmer in Michigan who had dairy cattle, and then he changed to beef cattle. And Michigan had a big farm there. He got a notification from the government that says, your farm is closed. You cannot sell any of your meat from your cows because of forever chemicals. He said, what? How did this happen? So what he did is he got sludge and from the sewage waste plants. They said everything was fine, everything safe, certified safe and everything like that. He put it on the ground. He grew alfalfa and so forth like that, all these things for his cows, and it was heavily polluted with forever chemicals. That's a sad story. So we have a situation that we have a high detected rate of PFAS in our water supply that was notified by the Guardian newspaper, and city's done nothing about it. They're just not doing anything about it. And I don't know what is happening to our sludge, where it's being put, but that's another question. I'm bringing this to you because it may be of interest to you. It's of interest to me because TEC is, we have some dishonesty in our city, and I'm just going to spend the rest of a few minutes on that. Is that, as you all know, probably all know, that I was arrested. I was going to say falsely arrested. I was taken and questioned at the police department, signed a paper, went to jail, visited by the police in jail, signed another paper. So when I'm getting ready to go to court to defend myself, I say, well, I'd like to have the interrogation and my paper I signed from the police inquiry. Doesn't exist. Okay, well, I'd like to get a police report of the police officers who visited me in jail, and the paper I signed doesn't exist. I want you all to understand is right now is what I have been exposed to a training center, to a training episode in the Titusville Police Department, and as far as I'm concerned, they are trained to be dishonest. I'm not pleased with that. I mean, that's just a beginning of that. Not only that, the police report, although I was interrogated with my address and everything, the police report says that in capital letters that I'm a homeless person. Homeless person. Professional engineer, known here for many years, lived here for about 54 years, said I'm homeless. There's two, the other police report, there's two police reports. Other police report says I have an address on Poinsett Avenue. I'm just sharing this with you because there is horrible dishonesty in our police department. Okay? That's all. Any questions? Okay, thank you for letting me share with you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnston. Okay, old business? Native Landscape Public Trust Fund Resolution. Were you able to come up with anything, Member Browning?
There should be something in your packet. So what is in your packet is a one-page paper, which basically, hopefully, does what I said that I would commit to, which is writing a basis for the TEC committing to Landscape Management Trust Fund being mostly, primarily for the purpose of supporting the developing urban forest management plan. So I think if you read the paper, that's pretty much what the paper is all about. What it says is it gives some history of what we've used landscape trust funds for in the last 20, 25 years. And it's a call to consider. Hopefully the city will consider the trust fund as being the main revenue support for the new urban forest management plan. It's a little bit high level, meaning that it doesn't get down into the weeds. I did talk to Kay St. Ange about it, and I think she would have preferred that somewhere in the one-page paper that it's more specific about, well, the Landscape Management Trust Fund needs to go for planting trees. And I think that if the City Council takes up the intent of this, the purpose and the intent of the trust fund, and does devote the trust fund towards supporting the UFMP, then what's going to happen is eventually it will support planting trees. But up front, there's probably personnel hires, software development those soft costs are generally upfront, not on the back end. Soft costs being administrative, design, planning, those kind of things that it takes to get the ball rolling. And hopefully, the soft costs are not that much, and the hard cost, which would be planting trees in the right place, is what the trust fund eventually does. It helps plant trees in the right place all throughout the city. And that's all I have to say about it. The only other note, I would be happy to add something more specific, like we would hope that the trust fund would be devoted to planting trees as much as possible, as opposed to design and planting for trees. That was basically Kay's intent, was to say, we need to buy trees and plant trees. And if you want to add something to this,
I just had a
more
question.
specific, I would certainly go along with that.
A clarification question, because I can't remember. Is this the pot that the urban forest manager comes from, or is that a different pot?
It could.
Okay.
Why not?
Well, I just didn't see it in here, so I just wondered.
No, it's not specific
Not
about
specific, okay.
planting trees or buying inventory software or anything else that's going to take to keep track of all of the trees that we have throughout the city. How many do we have? What do they look like? What's their condition? What do we need to do to prioritize maintenance? Scheduling, all of that stuff that an urban forest management plan does. I don't know right now what's the best way to schedule and distribute, the funding that trust fund has in it for the urban forest management plan.
I guess my point is someone's going to have to oversee the software and the data.
Absolutely.
And the tree planting. I just wondered how that worked together.
Did I answer your question? Yes. Was that?
Yeah, well, I think it's beautifully written and tactful, rather than attacking the city. I think you did a really, really nice job. Perhaps, I like the last sentence, that they could consider repurposing the trust fund to provide the lion's share of support for the urban forest management plan, such as funding the salary for the urban forestry person, software, and mainly planting trees. You just have to add, for example, or such as, and add a few more words, and then I think it's good. And so then we would submit this to the city manager, and hopefully he would put it on an agenda at some close point in time, and we could all show up and ask if they would consider doing that. Does that sound like a plan, Lily?
Yeah, you can make a motion if you want to about bringing this, I think it's what you said, bringing this recommendation to council, and then I'll pass that along.
Well, I think that, I think we need to craft the last phrase of the last sentence, and have that added, and then I'd be ready for a motion. So how do you want to add the specific things that we want to make sure do not get left out?
Let me say that I would like to avoid spending another month on this. And I'd like to move it off the TEC's table tonight if possible. So I would suggest whatever we add to it to be more specific, that it's short and sweet.
So I suggest that we put after UFMP, we put a comma, and then the word including, and then including a salary for an urban forest manager, comma, planting canopy trees throughout the right places in the city, comma, software, software for the urban forest management plan. And what do you want to end it with? And any other things that are necessary to implement and to manage our urban forest. How's that sound?
That sounds pretty good to me. I was trying to take copious notes.
Okay, well, read me back what you got.
Software, thank you. After software for administrative purposes, I think I was a little bit behind you, but.
Okay, put a comma and any other, tools necessary for implementation and execution of our urban forest management plan.
Can I read back what I think you said?
Pardon me?
Can I read back what I think you said?
Yes.
He's
still writing, wait till he's done so you can check it.
I was writing too. It's just
Would
trying
you
to
like me
capture.
to read what I have, or would you like to do your,
Go for it.
okay. After the urban forest management plan, where it says period, that would be a comma. And then including salary for urban forest manager, planting the right tree in the right place throughout the city, software for administrative purposes, and any other tools necessary to execute the urban forest master plan.
Sounds great to me.
Bill, you see any red flags in there?
Lori, have you got it?
Read the very last sentence one more time. I mean, just the, and any other,
Tools necessary to execute the UFMP.
I had implement.
Actually, I said implement and execute, but execute's fine. We don't need to implement.
Thank you.
We've got enough implementation talks. Let's execute.
Can I get a motion?
I move that we, do I need to read the whole, all that verbiage? I move that we submit this paper and the additional verbiage to staff for consideration of moving this towards council for approval.
Second.
All right, so we had a motion by Member Browning, seconded by Member Tucker, to take this document along with the additional verbiage and submit it to staff for their consideration of submitting it to the city council. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Good job. Great job, Member Browning. That was awesome. Do you want to talk about the report that you have here? Or?
My member's report.
That's your member's report.
At the end of the meeting.
Okay, great. Okay, so now we're on to new business. Project planning. And so your homework last week was to review the natural resources report. And we need to decide on what we want to work on as our next project. I think that, you know, we've got an urban forestry master plan in the works, and all the tree stuff that's going on, and, I think it's time to, find something new to work on. So does anybody want to start out?
I can give you my brief. I just went general to water quality. There was like 4 or 5 general topics. And coincidentally, I attended a presentation today by Jessie Wales. You know her? It was stellar. And I asked her if she would speak to us and or council, and she said she would be glad to speak to us. And she'd have to check and see if her boss wanted to come speak to council.
I can talk to her boss.
Okay. Anyway, it ties in with water quality. It has, specifically, this presentation was about shoreline restoration, and it's very positive. They give examples of successes, and they've done their homework. They have, you probably know all this, but they have like a consortium of people that they give money to and also contribute to their funding. I just think it's a good reminder that shoreline restoration is a good, what do I want to say? What's the word I'm looking for? It's a good example of water quality restoration.
It is dear to my heart, as everyone knows. The loss of the sandy beaches ecosystem in the lagoon is tragic for the animals that need sandy beaches, such as horseshoe crabs, shorebirds, wading birds, and humans. You know, human recreation is so important, and we need sandy beaches. So that's good. All right, so we got water quality. Does anybody else have a suggestion for what they want to talk about?
I know that ties into your nanobubble thing too.
I have a couple of things that stood out to me as priorities that consequently, all of these relate to water quality. And I'm not sure if we should focus on any one of these specifically or somehow focus on a bigger picture, but consider that these things that were in the, under recommendations in the natural resources plan. Septic to sewer conversions. I know there's a program and it's ongoing. I don't know where we are with that. I don't know that we need to have Mr. Cook come and give a presentation. I'm not asking for that. But I think related to water quality, that's one thing that I think is really important. Another is these areas of critical concern related to the watersheds around, wellheads. We apparently, I haven't been here as long as you all, so I don't know as much as you do about this, but apparently, and it says so in the report that you have, Bill, that gave to you, that at some point in the fairly recent past, we've allowed development in an area of critical concern. And in anything, we need to be protecting those areas, not developing over them. So, to raise the question with me about land.
Microphone, sorry.
My pardon. It raised a question in my mind about our land acquisition program. Have we started to outline acquisition targets? I would think that an area, it's going to take a while to come up with a program that protects areas of critical concern by buying those properties. And it seems like there's two strategies really that would help to keep those areas from being developed over in the future. One would be obviously to buy the land. That takes a lot of money. Another question I had about that was why couldn't we not rezone those areas so that we really limit the amount of impervious surface that we can put in those areas of critical concern? So one is acquisition, the other is rezoning. I don't know what we're doing to rezone. Have we had any meetings? I'm talking about staff. Has staff had any meetings to talk about these areas of critical concern? You know, what is there any focus now by staff on those areas? I can understand how perhaps a project got away from us. Maybe it had to do with ownership, and the land was already zoned, and somebody that owned the land wanted to work with a developer and develop it before we had a chance to acquire it or rezone it. Those things happen. But going forward, are we in the process in any way, shape, or form of beginning to target where those areas of critical concern are on a map? We show those on a map and looking at what the land use is for those areas. It could be multiple land uses in those areas. And what would it take to rezone and or acquire? And you can't put a pencil to it and talk about acquisition cost until you identify those areas of concern and look at the ownership. How many acres are we talking about? What's there now? You know, those kinds of questions. So that was another area. And then I agree that the Indian River Lagoon is probably the number one priority. And how do we get there? Well, it's a multi-strategy list of things that we need to do to protect the lagoon. And I think the lagoon and our drinking water aquifers are hand in glove working together. We can't allow the aquifers to degrade. And we need to do everything that we can to protect the watersheds around those, in and around those aquifers and those wells. So those are the big things that I had on my priorities list going forward.
Okay, thank you very much. Member Browning? Member Burdette, you have any burning things that you want to talk about?
It mostly just had to do with the water as well.
All right, thank you. Mr. Young?
I'm glad to see we're doing that, and I think we should push rezoning first, the easiest, and then buying the second. So if we get the areas of where the wells are rezoned, work on that as we then push for acquisition. In 1957, when my dad brought me to Titusville, we put down a well, and we hit coral at 5 feet. And so I stood in the hole, being a little kid, and I was like 5 foot tall, and I could just barely see over the dirt, and my feet were in mushy water. 40 years later, before my dad died, we had to make the well, we put down a 20-foot pipe. 12 years later, we put another 20-foot pipe. We put another 20-foot pipe, so the well was 60 feet deep. Before he died, it went dry. So in my lifetime, I've seen the aquifer water level on Garden Street go from 5 feet below surface to 55, 60 feet below surface. So this is a very important issue to deal with. I just thought I might mention that for those who may not have been here that long.
Thank you. So we got I don't know the legalities of just rezoning someone's piece of property out of the blue. I don't know if we can legally do that. Lily, do you? have any idea?
No, but I'm looking at, I think, which line item you're talking about. And it checks off, I mean, a lot of boxes in the comprehensive plan, the sustainability plan. They all kind of align with prioritization of the acquisition of lands identified as areas of critical concern or wetlands, and create a plan to prioritize purchase and fund maintenance. Is that the one you're talking about? That is something that I don't believe has any direct attention on it at this point. I mean, there are entities and things working towards water quality, but in terms of city land acquisition or any of the things you're talking about, I don't know of them if there are.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with water quality. There's a lot of organizations and a lot going on. The only rezoning that's happening on the areas of critical concern are when they get rezoned for housing developments. That's it, you know. There's doesn't seem to be any appetite from the city council to turn down rezoning requests, you know, for the areas of critical concern when they come up. And like, you know, the biggest one that comes to mind is Brookshire at the intersection of I-95 and Garden Street, the northwest corner. That was a beautiful, you know, and that's our Area 2 well field. And now it's got houses and streets and fertilizer and pesticides going into our drinking water supply. But like I said, I don't know what the law is on rezoning properties. So for my homework thing, I picked wetlands and and this might be something we could get done while we were working on some other, like the areas of critical concern and trying to figure out how to, for land acquisition, we'd have to do a bond. We'd have to go to a referendum and let people vote on whether they want to pay extra taxes to buy property, because the city doesn't have money to buy property, so that would entail a lot of work there and some time. So our wetlands policies in our comprehensive plan, in the future land use element, and the conservation element are a mess. And they are, there's a lot of confusion. They don't really jive. It's not written in black and white of exactly what you can do with wetlands. And developers are using that confusion in the language to get away with developing our wetlands. And so the comp plan has been, ever since 2011, when some changes were made to allow more things to happen on our wetlands policies have been a mess. And it's hard on staff because they have to spend a lot of time trying to interpret, you know, what does this mean when this developer comes and they want to do this or that on a piece of property? You know, what is the language? The county, Brevard County, we could copy Brevard County and have black and white set in stone. This is what you're allowed to do with wetlands, instead of having these vague language like what we have here in Titusville. Brevard County, you know, their wetland policies would be a really, really good example, you know, to try to emulate. And I don't think it would take that long for us to try to wade through those two elements in the comp plan and try to do something to line up the what's being said in the future land use and what's being said in the conservation element, so that they jive, and that would make it easier on staff. Like our open space and recreation, that's a zoning category, but there's a lot of confusion over the open space and recreation zoning thing too. But and And then, you know, if a wetland's less than 5 acres, they can pretty much fill it in and build houses on it the way it is now. There's almost no protection at all in Titusville's comp plan for wetlands that are less than 5 acres. And then there's confusion about large wetlands. So if somebody has a piece of property, they have a 5-acre piece of property, and they have an acre of uplands on it, and 4 acres of wetlands, and the 4 acres of wetlands adjoins 20 acres of wetlands, then since they're technically on their 5 acres, it's less than 5 acres of wetlands, they're developing them. So something needs to be clarified about that.
Madam Chairman, and the county regulations are addressing that?
Yeah, the county uses a formula where they use percentages. And I haven't studied it. I don't know about it. I can't sit here and say what it is. I just know that that is how they do it. There's some percentage that can be developed. But it's very clear on what can be done. Right now, you know, I think I would like to see us work on the comp plan elements for future land use and conservation to clarify and clean up any policy that deals with wetlands and get it fixed. You know, because it's confusing to the developers, it's confusing to planning staff, and as a result, a lot of our smaller wetlands are just being covered up with houses right now. And then once you fix the comp plan, then you can go back and look at the land development regulations and make sure that the land development regulations are in place to accomplish what the comp plan says we should be doing. And I also would like to see, you know, if we decide to do that, I would like to see somebody other than Kimley Horn end up being the consultant that works with us and the planning staff to get this done. I'd like to see the company that did our natural resources report. I'm looking for their name somewhere in here in my notes. But Jay Exum, who did, you know, the wetlands things in our natural resources report, is very, very extremely knowledgeable about wetlands policies. And that was Inspire Placemaking. That was the company that did our natural resources report. I'd like to see us work with them. Because when Kimley Horn works on changes to our comp plan, they get like the inside track. It doesn't seem right for the company that could eventually benefit from the recommendations that they make to our comprehensive plan to be working on changes to our comprehensive plan. That doesn't make sense. So our wetlands policies, they should be made easy so that everyone can understand them. The developers can understand them, staff can understand them. The staff doesn't have to spend a lot of time working with the developer and arguing with the developer, and it should just be made streamlined and easy so that staff doesn't have to spend a lot of time working on who's going to develop, how our wetlands are going to be developed. So that was my vote. So how do you guys feel? Time for discussion. We got 3 things on the table: water quality, areas of critical concern, land acquisition, and that could be for wetlands too, the land acquisition. In our meeting last week, Lily suggested that what she would like to see was she would like to see us work on an inventory and a master plan for all the connected green space that's in town, which we do have a lot of wetlands, and if you throw in the areas of critical concern, there's a lot of connected green space in our community, which really makes us unique. I mean, you think about when you go down south and you go to Melbourne and Palm Bay, and it's just all developed. We are blessed with a different kind of topography here in Titusville that is unlike any other community in the county, because we have these very high ancient sand dune systems, which are our areas of critical concern, that have wetlands in between them. It's kind of like a corduroy pattern. You've got a rolling hill that has, an old beach sand type ecosystem on it, and then you go downhill and you've got a wetland. And then, what's happened, you look at what happened with Brookshire. You had these beautiful big hills out there, and they pushed them over into the wetland, and they flattened everything out. And then they filled in the wetland with the beach dunes, that were there, and flattened everything out. And then people started having problems with flooding in their homes that were close to where that old wetland used to be after they filled it in. But that is what's happening, to our really unique topography that we have here, and there's not enough protection for it.
Sounds like, wetlands in areas around wells, areas of critical concern are interrelated. They're linked. Does it make sense to come up with land development regulations that clarify and, delineate an action plan for protection? That's a big ask. It's a big project, but so is cleaning up the IRL. It's a lot of different partners, a lot of different projects, a lot of different funding sources that are coming together to, work on a big problem. And protection of wetlands is, I've only been here 2 years, but I've heard, most of the comments I've heard are coming from citizens are about trees and flooding. And certainly wetlands and stormwater management in those areas of critical concern are all, and as you say, they've been linked, and there's been cause and effect issues related to land development. Why can't we? I would love to work on that and make wetlands a priority project, but it seems like it's really not just wetlands. It's our drinking aquifers and the land that's related to those, and those are big items in the comp plan. Why can't they be clarified in the land development regulations?
Member Tucker?
Well, I just wanted to weigh in that I totally agree. It's almost we're approaching the tipping point to ruining it forever if we don't take some positive action towards your point about the wetlands and changing the topography. And all systems are connected. So I don't know if the developers don't understand that, or they just choose not to for their end result. But once you start messing with one part of it, it's going to domino. And go ahead.
You fill in wetlands, and the water that used to go there and be stored there, it has to go somewhere. Yeah, and so that's the danger of developing the edges of those big wetlands that we have on the west side of town. If you start getting rid of the upland borders around those wetlands, and you take down all the trees that are sucking up all kinds of stormwater and rainwater, and you replace those trees with houses and rooftops and streets, the water has to go somewhere. And it's not gonna go into a street, it's not gonna go into a house. It's going to go into the wetland, and it's gonna flood the neighborhoods that were built in the 1960s in the wetlands, before there was any wetland protection, all along the west side of Park Avenue, at the bottom of the hill at Park Avenue, Overlook Terrace, Greenwood Street, Carroll Avenue, all of those older subdivisions, when you come down the hill on Park Avenue and you get to the bottom, they're right up. I mean, they filled in. There's little ponds where they took the fill out and filled in the swamp and built houses on top of it. And if you take away the thing that's protecting them now, which is the uplands around the edges of the wetlands, then the water has to go somewhere. It's going to go in people's houses and in the streets. And then there's also the restoring the natural flow from those wetlands west instead of into the Indian River Lagoon. But I think, you know, the way to start is with the comp plan and the language of the wetlands elements themselves. We need to get that straightened out, take that burden off of the planning staff, and give them a way to logically deal with the development requests that keep coming in. And then once we get the comp plan straightened out, then we can start looking at some other things. Just bite off a little bit at a time, starting with the wetlands language in our comp plan.
Oh, I just wanted to make the point about how the city council is focused on economic value. And in the long run, we see economic value in the naturalization and keeping what we have natural. But I just wanted to make the point about the lagoon. If we pursue that, as we will, that has big economic impact on tourism, what draws people to Titusville, and they're, from what I've heard, they're pushing towards bringing more of that draw from the nature point of view to bring more economic value to Titusville. Well, if the water's not clear, they're not going out there to kayak. So I just wanted to add that point.
Member Young?
I agree with everything you're saying. Part of what you're saying was we're pushing for things and somebody undoes what we push for. The Planning and Zoning Committee or Commission, are they, we've had times where we've asked for stuff and then they change stuff. And so it's like we're in competition with them. And by what we're trying to do here, are we going to be in more competition with them if we're trying to push this? That shouldn't they be more serious about what they're doing? You know, we have hurricane season, and my being in Florida so long, I've seen where developers develop something, and then later the hurricane comes, flooded, and then you see people drowning and water up to here crying that save me. And I don't see anybody suing the developer for getting rid of the wetlands that then cost that person's life. Isn't there some kind of lawyer or legal issue of if the city undoes wetlands and they develop on it and someone drowns in it, is that are we liable legally for that person's death? As a Planning and Zoning Committee, as a city council? I mean, who approves these things that allows developers to develop places that shouldn't be developed? And then during a hurricane or whatever, someone dies. Where is that legal? Where do we fit in with that problem?
I can't answer that question. I don't know. I don't know of any city council that's been sued because of a land use or a zoning change that they've made that resulted in someone being flooded. I'm not aware of it. It could be a case like that, but I know that all around us in Volusia County, they just tried to do a moratorium on any new development because the flooding in their existing neighborhoods has gotten so bad that they're having to try to slow down development so that they can address what's already been developed that's being flooded. And it's happening in Orlando, it's happening all over around us. And so, right now, we do have some flooding issues in our town, but not as bad as what I've seen up in Volusia County. But that doesn't mean that it won't get worse if we keep filling in our wetlands and displacing the water.
I'm in agreement that we should focus on wetland policy and land development regulations. So you mentioned starting with the comp plan. I'm not familiar with exactly what's in the comp plan now related to wetland. I know that we don't exactly administrate wetlands the same as the St. John's Water Management District. My understanding is that you can go above and beyond that, but that's the baseline. And we have some, I think what you were saying, we have some inefficiencies here that are due to lack of clarity. And so how do we focus on clarity and tightening up the ship a little bit? I'm trying to think about what we come back next month with as far as what we're supposed to go back home and look at the comp plan and pull out what's there regarding, and maybe the land development regulations as well, or just the comp plan, and look at what it says. I'm ready to get into the weeds as soon as possible. So I'm not sure that we should jump right into land development regulations, but I'm not sure I'm qualified to assess what's in the comp plan as being where we start.
Okay, so if you look at what Jay has put in the wetlands, starts on page 31 in the natural resources report. He starts out, the first thing he says, evaluate the LDRs to identify opportunities to clarify or strengthen the city wetland regulations. But the LDRs are put in place to implement what's in the comp plan. So I think we need to start with the comp plan first. What do you think, Lily?
So the comp plan's more of like a visioning document, and in the sense that it's already intended to be a goal in which we have no net loss of wetlands. I think the reason he put this here is because it just jumps in right in to try and achieve that goal. I think the no net loss of wetlands has the part that talks about the comprehensive plan policy, CE strategy 1.6.2.1. I'm not sure at this time if the changes really need to be focused on the comprehensive plan. That's a future visioning document. I think it needs to be probably what you were mentioning, clarifying the LDRs, because there's a lot of confusion there.
Well, I think, I had a couple of long conversations with Mary Spar, and there's probably nobody better than her as far as, knowledge of wetlands, and she's been working with the county, for over 20 years. The percentage that she said the county has a percentage, it's right there on page 33. It's 1.8 maximum wetland impact for developments based on the threshold used at Vieira. So that would be what they used at Vieira would be what the county is using. So if you have a piece of property that I guess is all wetlands and you have no way to utilize it, you can impact 1.8% of it. That's how I would interpret that. But she feels like we needed to, because of the opportunity, because the city's submittal got rejected by the state and sent back, she felt like this was a really good time to try to address the comprehensive plan. And then once you get the comprehensive plan language straightened out between what it says in the conservation element and what it says in the future land use development, and make sure that they're both saying the same things. And once you get that straightened out, then you can start on the LDRs. And I'm parroting what she said. She said the Titusville wetland policies are very confusing, and developers are using that confusion to get away with filling in wetlands. So they're arguing with staff and getting away with, filling in our wetlands. Yet the county very clearly has a stipulation that you can only impact 1.8 maximum impacts, 1.8%. So that was her recommendation. She felt like it would be better off to start with the language in the comp plan, because it would have to be submitted during the resubmittal of the year. And that's what they had. Kimley Horn is working with the city on their resubmittal of the year policy, and they actually had the Titusville Natural Resources report on a slide that they showed at the city council, and recommended that the city look at the recommendations of the Natural Resources report and start trying to implement them. So this would be a good way to start.
Question, how would we actually begin this?
Well, I don't know. Lily showed me how to find the comp plan in this on the city's website by just doing a search. You can go into the search and say comprehensive plan, future land use element, and then it would come up, and you can look at what's in there in the language right now. I'm not sure how we would do it. Whether we would like look at the comp plan ourselves and try to figure out where these discrepancies are, and then try to recommend ourselves, or would staff be involved? What do you think, Lily?
Yeah, so I'm actually looking at it as if you want to go forward with developing or amending existing wetland policies to clarify and create more limitation on wetland impacts, that whole segment, we can take that and run it through the decision tree for prioritizing which actions, funding, and staffing should be taken first. Obviously, with your input on focusing on, if you want to focus on the comprehensive plan changes, and bring back to you sort of the aggregate of that result, really, if because there's a decision tree after, I believe it's on the following 38, that we can run through all of these options on and see which areas we can tackle. I mean, this is just formally bringing attention. You'd be the, I think, primary body bringing attention to this issue, and just iteratively working on where the problems are, because I don't think we've really given a lot of direct attention on this issue. So it would have to take some time, but I can bring this back to the planners.
Why couldn't we run something through the decision tree tonight, right now, so we can see how it works and see what surfaces. I'm like Member Browning. I'm ready to jump on this right away. I mean, this has been going on since 2011, and it's time to fix it.
I think my ability to give you full and complete answers to these questions is kind of what might limit
Oh,
our
so
ability to go through this list, if I'm being honest.
I mean, we could guess what the answers are. Like number 3, does the city have existing funds and staff to achieve the objectives? No. Proceed. I'm on page 38. We could test it. Or do you want to bring in Brad and make him come next month?
I'm feeling like Brad, maybe even Sandy, might want to be aware that the TEC would like to focus on this as their priority for the foreseeable future. And I
okay.
think sending that signal is a strong indicator that this will start.
Okay, so for our homework then, this month, we could study the future land use element and the conservation element in the comprehensive plan. I'm gonna see if I can even find them. I can get on the computer and on the internet on this computer, right? Yeah, there it is, Google Chrome. So then I go to Titusville.com.
Some of us have a copy of the comp plan in our office.
You have a copy of it in your office?
I do.
Ah. My office is in my bedroom, and it is a complete disaster. I don't have a copy of the comp plan.
We could charge if I may, Madam Chair, we could charge the TEC members with going to the future land use section and the conservation section and the comp plan, reading it, and then, also reading what the land development regulations say about, I don't know, we could review and comment for homework. You can just review the comp plan and comment on that, or we could review the comp plan sections that you mentioned, future land use and conservation, and read what those sections say about wetlands and let that be it. But bottom line is we could ask staff or tell staff that we want to focus as our next priority area is wetlands, wetland conservation.
Yeah, I could get that in a motion. That would be really helpful.
I move that we let staff know that the TEC would like to focus our next efforts and time on wetland conservation. And I don't know that I need to say any more about it than that.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. So the motion was made by Member Browning and seconded by Member Tucker, that we notify Titusville planning staff that the TEC would like to focus on wetlands and the language of the wetlands in the comprehensive plan and the land development regulations. All those in favor say aye.
Sorry, so not specifically the elements in the natural resources plan? Are you asking to work on the wetland portion of the natural resources plan? That's kind of the...
I think that's what we were thinking, is that the
Okay.
natural resources plan is the base document
Okay.
from which our work would, emanate, bring forth. That's the basis for, we've done, there's been a lot of work on that already, so why reinvent the wheel?
I agree, except there's nowhere, it doesn't, wait a minute. It doesn't recommend making changes to the elements in the comprehensive plan. And if you look at the top of the page where it says comprehensive plan policy, those are all blank spaces except for no net loss of wetlands. That's the only one that has anything to do with the comp plan. And I think that might be why Mary said we really need to start first with to make sure that the comprehensive plan, land use element and conservation element have the vision that we want and that they are compatible. Then we can start on the LDRs that are all outlined in the natural resources report. I think that was the process that she recommended that we do. And
So
not,
try to get
yeah.
an overview of what the comp plan says first, get a basic understanding of what the comp plan is, the vision, and as a guiding document, if we don't understand that, it's difficult for us to start getting into the weeds a little bit. No net loss could be taken as no net loss. You can't fill in over 1.8%, or is 1.8% allowed, really no net loss? What does no net loss mean? So, again, it kind of starts with the comp plan, and let's understand what it says and be knowledgeable about that for the next meeting, so we can start to discuss it intelligently and work with staff to go from there.
So, Lori, can you read the motion, please?
Member Browning made a motion that the Titusville Environmental Commission will focus on wetland conservation and the comprehensive plan land use element and conservation element for the foreseeable future. Member Tucker seconded.
Start with the comprehensive plan, those two elements first. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that motion carries unanimously. So Lily, can you walk me through how to find the comp plan on the computer? Because I've typed in comprehensive plan in the search bar.
If you go to Google and Titusville Comprehensive Plan, that'll get you there too.
I was trying to get to it from the city's website. That's right, you went to Google. Okay. Let me try that.
Can she send us a link that we all have a link to it?
I did.
You can send us the link?
I did. In the last email, yeah.
Thank you. That would be easier. Okay. So Lily has sent you a link to the comp plan. We're going to be focusing on the future land use element, all of the wetlands references, languages that are in the future land use element, and all of the wetlands language that's in the conservation element. That's your target. Got it? Okay, does anybody have anything else on the project planning, agenda item 8A? Anything else? And we will keep, we'll keep all this other stuff that we talked about. But these are great. I think we've got a really good roadmap for how we want to move forward as a body. And I appreciate Lily. Yeah. I do. Lily rocks. Okay. Petitions and requests from the public? All right. Reports. Member Young, do you have a report?
No, I'm back in town today, so I hope to catch up, and sorry I can't hear very well. But I do have October 4th, 5th, and 6th. I'm a member of the American Solar Energy Society. It's a national club association. And in October, they always have a solar tour of solar-powered houses, and it's free. It's ACES is a club, an organization to educate and inspire people. They don't sell anything. So it's a membership. It's a $30 membership dues. That's how they run their organization. And they publish all kind of information. So if you're looking for solar information, you can look up ACES, American Solar Energy Society, or you can come to my house October 4th, 5th, and 6th, and I'll show you my solar stuff that I have at my house. And so there will be about 2,000 houses throughout the country on exhibit that weekend. So I thought I'd talk about that I'm part of that and I'm part of this. So there you go.
Nice, yeah, you can see your stuff from US 1. It looks really impressive.
Yeah, when you get to South Street in US 1, the red light, now that my neighbor cut down the trees, did you notice that? Yeah. Yes. All of his trees? Who let him do that? But my trees are still there. He won't touch mine, but he cut down all his tree. Now anybody can see my solar system pretty easily. I'm done.
Member Burdette?
Nothing to report at this time.
Member Browning?
This will be short. Pass that on to Bill. In July, I did a report on the critical root zone, which is mentioned in our tree ordinance. And this 9-page report was submitted to city manager with a request to pass this to all council members. And in their second meeting in July, council discussed the 3 ordinance changes that have been recommended by TEC, of which the critical root zone is one. I want to give you basically a short summary about what this report says. It cites scientific papers and references from people like Dr. Kim Coder, who's now retired from the University of Georgia, Warnell School of Forestry. It also cites Dr. Andrew Koser, University of Florida. And he's a master arborist and an expert on tree damage on construction sites. He's written numerous papers on that focus on critical root zone. And this is a summary of some of his work and Coder's work. And basically, I want to just put this sort of in a nutshell so that going forward, as we get towards a public meeting on this, and I should say that at that, I think it was July 22nd meeting, council agreed to move these ordinance changes forward towards public meetings, okay? That's all they did. We still have a couple of 2 or 3 meetings to go on this, and it may start in October. Not sure, but be looking for that. So regarding the critical root zone, I'm going to put this for you in a nutshell. I've talked about it before, but our current code says that for every inch in diameter of a tree you're trying to save, the critical root zone goes out 6 times the diameter, that 1-inch diameter. So if you have a 10-inch tree, the radius that the critical root zone is 6 times that, okay? Now the code is a little bit confusing because it talks about the diameter is established, but everywhere else that I've ever worked, and if you read about critical root zone, it talks about the radius of a circle around a tree, okay? I've been before this body before and talked about the critical root zone, and what we needed to do here in the city is bringing up to minimum standards, that being the American National Standards Institute. I referenced the standard, which also is the same as the International Society of Arboriculture standard, which basically is for 1 inch, you go out 12 inches, okay? So it's 1 foot, 12 inches for each inch in diameter. That's the national standard. Not everybody in the country goes by that standard. It's picked up by a lot of people here and internationally, but 1 to 12 is as much of a standard as we have. The major tree companies like Davy Tree, which is a national company, they use 1.25 feet per inch. Anyway, I'm going to get back to the inch per inch thing. Here in the city, we've codified 6 inches for every inch, okay? 6 inches out for every inch in diameter. That's it. That's half of the national standard. What this report says is that we're going to create storm debris. We are not going to preserve trees. Our code says now that we should preserve 15% of existing trees on construction sites, at least for commercial properties, and residential subdivisions are commercial activity. We don't cover individual residences, but we do cover new development. And my whole focus has been on getting this thing upgraded. Staff, I made a presentation at that meeting on July 22nd, and they made an extensive presentation, and basically they're not agreeing with the science, and they're pushing the 1 inch to 6 inch ratio. That's the battle. That's the thing that I would like for you to show up for in subsequent meetings here, talking about the critical root zone. It makes no sense to me if we go forward with extending the tree ordinance to multifamily properties and require that multifamily properties also preserve a certain percentage of trees, if possible. And we're not going to preserve trees. We have an overarching requirement for preservation, and then we have a critical root zone, which basically is the same as the structural root plate dimension. There are scientists out there that have established for dicots, not angiosperms like you have on your farm, and not palms, but dicots, things that have buttress roots. Those are the trees we're talking about, live oaks, maples, those kind of things. And because they have buttress roots, they have a structural root plate which needs to be preserved, and they have transport roots, then they have feeder roots. And our code right now allows transport and feeder roots to be totally removed. It only protects the structural root plate, and that is totally unacceptable in any community that cares about trees. So this report is for you. Hopefully it'll explain why I've been mouthing off about this for a year. And I'm still continuing that issue. I still want to talk about it with staff and hope that we can I hope I don't have to ask Dr. Andrew Koser to show up here at meetings, but that would be very difficult. But there are other papers that I have copies of that talk about how large native trees protect housing in high wind throws. Not just how do we keep them intact and keep them from blowing over, but how when we save them in the right way, large canopy shade trees actually buffer wind throws and help keep rooftops from blowing away. So that's what I'm concerned about. And there's, in particular, a 3-page letter at the end of this by a person I've worked with before. He's a master arborist in Georgia, like Dr. Koser, and his letter is pretty striking, I think, and I hope you'll read that. Yeah. So that's it. That's my report.
Thank you. That's a really, really good, report. Lily, do we know when those 3 ordinances are gonna go out for, public comment?
I believe at the last meeting in October, but it's always subject to change. So,
Did you say November? October. Thank you.
the 28th, I believe, is that day.
Member Tucker? You have a report?
First time. Okay, I attended the EIS for the super heavy presented by the FAA. And in a nutshell, it was a fire hose of information. Basically, all of Titusville is going to be impacted, noise levels, fly zones, not to mention the beach closure, which a lot of people were there for that. I can't begin. They had several copies of the actual study. It's in a 3-inch binder. But I did pick up 4 of these, which gives you the overview and the contact information. So if you want to research it yourself, you can know all you need to know about this EIS for super heavy. That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's gonna have a big impact. I mean, the headline, yesterday for the Florida Today, big, 2-inch letters was, Starship may impact flights from Tampa, Orlando International, and multiple South Florida airports, from as little as an hour to as much as 4 hours of layovers. It will cause flight cancellations, and really disrupt air traffic, in the central and south part of the state. And I'm wondering, has Visit Florida and all the tourism leaders in the state really, do they understand what 2 Starship launches a day, which is the goal, is going to do to air traffic in Central and South Florida? And right now they're only saying they're going to close the beach 60 days a year. Well, that's for this EIS, and maybe the launches at LC 37 aren't going to cause the beach to close because it's further south. But they're saying 60 days a year, but that's only this first bite out of the apple, and that's how Mr. Musk does his business, is a bite at a time. But his goal is 200 Starship launches a year. No, I'm sorry, 2 a day. That's his goal is 2 a day from Kennedy Space Center. So if that happens, we'll never see our beach again.
This particular one focuses on 39A.
Right, yeah, that 39A.
Which is further north.
It's further north. It's actually 3.11 miles, which is, it's outside of the 3-mile danger area that is what NASA has always based it on. And so if it's outside of the 3-mile radius, that's why they put the road to the beach where it is. It's outside of the 3-mile radius. So why, why is it focusing on our beach? I don't understand. There's a lot going on across the river that's of immense concern. And one of the things is mitigation. I'll talk about mitigation. So when they do mitigation, there's not enough mitigation within the Space Center for all the activity that's going on out there. And so the state just passed, during this last legislative session, passed a law that makes it even easier for developers to do mitigation outside of the area of their impact. So They're doing ridiculous things like talking about sending gopher tortoises from the Space Center to Alabama and Mississippi. Well, why are they talking about sending our gopher tortoises to another state when there's plenty of places on the mainland in Brevard County where those gopher tortoises could go? You know, why are they talking about sending gopher tortoises out of state? Why are they talking about sending our scrub jays from the Space Center over to the Lake Wales Ridge and to a piece of property over by Fort Myers, when we have plenty of conservation areas in Brevard County that those jays could be translocated to? They're going to spend a lot of money moving those birds. Why would they spend money moving them and creating habitat for them in other parts of the state? Why can't they spend that money in Brevard County? We need to, and there's already a group of citizens that are trying to raise awareness about losing our beach. I grew up here. There for years when I was growing up, my mother had to pack us in a station wagon and drive us all the way up to New Smyrna Beach so we could go to the beach, because we could not go to Playa Linda Beach. The whole time I was a kid, we could not go to Playa Linda Beach. We don't want that to happen again. But we don't want to send our scrub jays over to the Lake Wales Ridge either. So we need to be making equally as large of trying to get attention so that across the river, these mitigation projects should not be going outside of Brevard County. The impacts from the Space Center are affecting us in Brevard County, our quality of life, our buildings, our ability to take a flight out of Orlando International. It's certainly impacting our ability to go fishing offshore. So those mitigation projects, they should take place. If they can't take place on the wildlife refuge or at the seashore itself, then they should take place on the mainland in Brevard County. No mitigation project from the Space Center should be allowed to leave Brevard County. That's my report.
Can I comment?
Sure.
That? They have a timeline here, and we're still in the public review part of the timeline. So if somebody needs to say something or to motivate to say something, you have until the fall.
September 22nd, to be exact.
Yeah. And they are taking they had court reporters taking down everybody's comment, everybody's review, and so they're taking the public participation seriously.
Yeah, and it's really important that you comment, and it's pretty easy. I mean, you can go on their website and then click on make a public comment and type out your comment. You can also make a letter and mail it. I don't understand why you can't email for this particular EIS. Does it say anything about being able to email Miss Eva Long or just send her a letter?
No, you can, it says electronically or mail.
Yeah. Electronically is like going on their website and filling
Right.
out the form on their website. So during the last EIS, a couple months ago for LC 37, you could also email Miss Long personally, but
I don't see
that option's not
They give
available.
a QR
Yeah.
that gives all the information, maybe not in this, it
Yeah,
might be.
and I encourage you guys to take a look at this EIS because this is the one that's really going to impact Titusville. 39A is like the closest launch pad to Titusville, and it is going to shut down our beach eventually, 100%.
This is the U.S. Air Force EIS? Are we
No,
talking about
it's
it?
FAA.
No,
We're
it's
talking about
FAA.
another one
FAA.
now.
Yeah.
This is the FAA. Okay.
There's so many of them, and they're coming so fast and so furious, it's really difficult to keep up with them. But this one is the FAA, and it's about 39A. I'll let you hang on to mine because
I've got one at home. Yeah.
All right, does anybody else have anything else? We're good? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. We did our reports, but we didn't do staff reports. It's not on the agenda, so there. Lily, do you have a report?
Yeah, so just as an update with the FAA, since you brought it up, there are currently 79 comments digitally submitted. So, yeah, that should kind of tell you how many people have taken action so far, at least. So
Not enough.
you can look that up on regulations.gov as well. I also wanted to encourage anyone on September 26th, there's the 100-year of service for the fire department, that little old truck that they have. But our floodplain managers will be there to answer, what?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Amy's actually working with the fire department. That's being changed to National Night Out because there's so many things going on that night. So stand by. The National Night Out is in I think the first week of October. So we'll get you a new date on that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's just changing in the last 24 hours. I just started interrupting.
No, you're good. Thank you. Yeah, good. That was news to me. So whenever that 100-year of service event does end up happening, our floodplain managers are doing a public engagement to answer questions and help citizens as well. I don't know if many people know that we have floodplain managers. And then also on October 29th, I will be giving a presentation on the LID ordinance and basically lessons learned, everything that we've been working through up until this point, and potential future changes so that hopefully other cities can start adopting LID ordinances.
What's the date again?
October 29th, 9:45 a.m.
Where are you doing your presentation?
It's at the MRC LID conference.
Oh, you're going to be a speaker at the conference?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Trying to,
If you guys have never been to that conference, it is outstanding. It really is. I learned so much. I've been 3 years in a row now. And what is the theme this year? Last year it was massive information about stormwater. Do you know what the theme is this year?
I want to say it's like applied projects, something along it's in action. The project's actually in implementation. I don't know what the words are for it, but I do know I tailored the conversation around that because they wanted to see more examples of proof of concept. But the whole speakers and everything are on their website. All the topics and stuff are published too.
Yeah, and so you can just Google Marine Resources Council, Low Impact Development Conference. It costs money to go. I think it's about. That's it? Oh, that's cheap. I think it's. I thought it was like $245.
Yeah, I think it's.
Yeah, yeah, it's expensive, but if you've got the money and the time, it's definitely worth it. If that's it, I'm gonna conclude the meeting. Thank you very much for coming, y'all. Appreciate it.